if you have a backyard or you have a living room and you think, gosh, it'd be great if we could have like an intimate little, like a poetry reading here, a musician, somebody giving a talk, a chef come in, any kind of cultural intimate experience in a private space. It was a platform to match hosts, so people who would post that, with artists who had ideas for these things, and then if you made it public, anyone could attend, and then they would get the address, and then the money would be split by the artist and the host.
It's time to reimagine events. Unfortunately, in the past 2 years, many events were postponed while others chose a virtual or hybrid model, and some no longer exist. My name is Georgie-Ann, and I am the CEO and founder of GSD Solutions. At GSD Solutions, we've been exploring virtual events since 2016. And in the past 18 months, we've produced over 200 virtual events. We're inviting virtual platforms, industry experts, and service providers to talk to you all about what the events industry will look like.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Events Reimagined, the series where we get real about how to reimagine as well as reflect on what the events industry has become, specifically through the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, my special guest is Vladic from Bramble, which is a virtual event platform and a virtual experience platform, actually, and we're going to dive into it in just a second. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Georgie-Ann, and I am the CEO and founder of GSD Solutions, where we focus on strategic business development, and we do that through virtual event production. So if you want to check us out, head on over to gsdsolutions.xyz, and thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the series. So first, I'd like to have Vladic, can you give us an introduction of yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and your background.
Sure, Georgie-Ann. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak about Bramble. Like this is really wonderful. We love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so before the startup world, I was a journalist, actually, and so was my co-founder. So I did a lot of multimedia storytelling kind of around the world. I covered the South Caucasus and Central Asia, and my co-founder actually worked in North Africa and the Middle East. So we covered a lot of ground. And we actually met at grad school. We went back to grad school at Columbia Journalism, and we decided that we had an idea for a startup. And that was actually not Bramble, but that is what led us to build Bramble once the pandemic began.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about it. How do two journalists get into tech? Like you said, you had another startup previously. So start telling us a little bit about the story, the journey to getting to Bramble.
Absolutely. Well, the previous company was called Artery. We're still around, artery.is. And it'll make sense why we're sort of on pause at the moment. But Artery actually built Bramble, so it's part of the same company. And Artery was a global platform for people to build community around culture and other forms of social infrastructure. And I know that sounds a bit like a mouthful. Let me break it down like very simply. If you have a backyard or you have a living room and you think, gosh, it'd be great if we could have like an intimate little, like a poetry reading here, a musician, somebody giving a talk, a chef come in, any kind of cultural intimate experience in a private space. It was a platform to match hosts, so people who would post that, with artists who had ideas for these things, and then if you made it public, anyone could attend, and then they would get the address, and then the money would be split by the artist and the host.
Nice.
So, kind of a sharing economy thing, but for culture, not accommodation, not like Airbnb, but specifically for going to intimate experiences. And it was amazing. I mean, we had 1,200 of them, well, more, actually much more than that in 2019. And we were on track for a much bigger year in 2020. And then, I think we all know where this is heading. We would have these marketing campaigns like, shoulder to shoulder, like cozy, intimate spaces, like we had all this stuff ready to go that was just could not possibly be worse timing for a global pandemic, for people not being able to gather. So, we kind of had to make some adjustments. And first what we did is what all cultural startups did at that time. We watched our community go online, right? We saw the Zooms, the Meets. I mean, mostly it was Zoom at that time. And all these artists and all these community organizers were really struggling with that solution, right? I wouldn't call it necessarily a solution. It was sort of a desperation. And we're trying to think, what do we understand from all of these, creating all of these intimate experiences? Because we're not the artist, right? We're trying to facilitate a great experience. and kind of figuring out how to put that envelope around it. And so
Yeah.
what did we know that could translate into digital? And one of the first things we realized was gatherings are not meetings. They're not broadcasts. They're people coming together one to one to one. Like it's a mystique. Anytime you go to a cocktail party, you know what I mean. There's a lot of things that go into your decision making there. And one way we broke it down is we think, okay, well, what does it mean? Okay, if it's not like a broadcast, if it's not like, chatting in a box on YouTube, what is it? Like, what are those special pieces? And the basically, to distill it down to two things, these are the two kind of inspirations for Bramble: giving people context. So if you and I were going to meet and have a conversation, this is really nice. But let's say we were doing it in real life. You would probably think, oh, well, which cafe should we meet in, right? Or maybe we're meeting at a local library, or maybe we're going to meet at a bar, or maybe like depends on the context, depends on all these other things. It also gives us something to talk about, right?
Yep.
Like the first thing you do when you get there, you have something to talk about other than just, okay, there's your face, here's my face, And so that's a huge piece of it. And the second thing is agency, right? I mean, this is wonderful to speak, but let's say I was talking for too long and you were getting a little bored. Maybe you want to talk to someone else. How do you do that? You could you can't really walk away, right? You don't have any agency in this. You are just one side of a multi-sided broadcast, right? And that's not very human. That's just not how we socialize. And so Bramble was built, and there was a lot of tech that went into this, but giving you freedom, agency to walk around, talk to whoever you want to talk to without having to explain what that is, right? No, like, oh, well, click on this for this breakout room to, blah, 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 this circle. It's like, walk around, go wherever you want to go. And then, of course, context. Let's make this a beautiful place to spend time. If we have to be on our computers to socialize, let's make that as human and fun and like rich, visually pleasing as possible.
Nice. I love that. I love what you just said about, gatherings are not meetings. That definitely stood out to me, and just adding that layer of context, like being able to move away and interact versus just, hey, I showed up for a purpose is that I'm going to leave now. It's a journey. It's an experience that we want people to go on, especially in this virtual world, versus just, coming to all these meetings and transactional interaction and then leaving. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so, that definitely kind of tells a story of like, why did you choose to build it? But what made that click happen, and where you saw the trends changing? COVID-19 is out. You can't be shoulder to shoulder anymore. But what was that critical moment that said, yes, we have to take this leap of faith and put whatever investments needed? Like you said, a lot of technology went into building building Bramble, and saying, we're going to put Artery on hold, and whatever funds and technical team was necessary to come into Bramble. So what was that turning point that you guys knew that you had to commit to Bramble?
To be honest, it was like a leap of faith, or necessity is the mother of invention, or whichever cliche that you want to pull out. But we had no choice. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. Is it would not have been responsible to do anything in real life gathering for a year and a half, and we're still kind of at the tail end of what makes sense and what doesn't. And things can change. We all have been completely surprised by this. So in the beginning, it was an idea, and we built an MVP. Basic pieces. It was like, a little picture, a little dot. It didn't look anything like what I'm going to show you, but it moved around, and we actually brought some friends in, and we had some of the artists who we, talked to regularly from Artery. We gave it to them, and we said, does this make any sense to you? Like nothing that I just told you. We just said, here you go, use the arrow keys. Does this make sense? And they were delighted. Like that, they talk about this in tech, this like moment of delight, and how quickly can you get people there. This is the thing I'm most proud of with Bramble. It's the most exciting thing, honestly, about the whole thing is you have this completely new experience that people understand immediately, right? Like that's a rare thing. And that's something that's why, as we saw that kind of response to this experience, we were like, wow, there is something here. If we're delighting people in their virtual gatherings, which is not typically a thing people were that excited about, then we're doing something right. And then we really spent a lot of time figuring out, okay, well, what direction, what are we doing right? Like what are our internal values? What's our design philosophy? And those questions are really fun. So for the team as well, it was exciting. And our team has tripled since that time. So it's also been successful.
Awesome. Wow. So, I'd love to have us dive in and, take a look at Bramble. So if you want to go ahead and share your screen, and I'll bring it up.
Absolutely. With one person, it's harder to show it. So let me send you this link. Cool. So we can kind of pretend you just arrived. Am I saying your name right? Georgie-Ann?
Yeah, Georgie-Ann.
Got it. Cool. Okay. So welcome, George. I mean, do you want to how do you want to jump back in?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Vladic, for bringing us here into Bramble. I'd love for you to show me around. I see that we're at a Halloween theme party. So what do you want me to do? And I have like a little gladiator icon, and or our photos are there when I'm next to you. But definitely tell me a little bit more about what I should be doing or not doing.
Well, so let me show you this, Georgie-Ann. I'm going to ask you, this is sort of the magic moment I was talking about. So right now, yeah, I'm glad you figured it out. You're one of these little avatars, and I'm next to you, and we can see each other. Now, if you go ahead and just use your keyboard, your little arrows, and move away from me, just see what happens there.
Oh, I lost your little picture.
Exactly. And as I move closer to you, it pops back in.
And it like fades in, kind of.
It fades in, exactly. And the audio does as well. Right now, we're actually using a separate audio, so you may not be hearing the audio fade, but just imagine it's fading the same way as the video. It's just for the recording. So this is Bramble. And so we're in this world. This is our Halloween, one of our Halloween themes. And let's just go inside so we can go kind of see this world.
Alrighty. Going to a Halloween party online, y'all.
Exactly. It's actually our first event was with House of Yes, which is a pretty prominent venue in New York City. And they always do these epic things for Halloween. And our very first event was actually with them.
Hi.
Just going to mute ourselves here. Okay, so welcome. So now we're walking around and we can just sort of go through this world together. And as you can see, there are these, like, come up here. So now we're in
a private area.
So now we can speak and no one else can hear us, right? But let's say you want to speak to everyone here, right? You want to do like a big group conversation, right? So let's go into the stage then.
Hey everyone, I'm on stage.
Exactly. So you just walked into where the spotlight is, and now everyone in the room can hear you. So normally we have a spatial chat where it's whoever you're next to that you're talking to, but you can also give a big keynote to everybody, from one spot. This is also a silent room, so you don't have to think about this like whole muting and unmuting and all that. This is the room where you could spotlight someone else to make their video appear, but you don't have to. When they come in, you don't have to worry about the muting and stuff. So that's all in the controls of the organizer. You can embed videos. One of the greatest things here is you can embed websites. It's going to take me just a second to do that. But I'm going to just do that. I don't know if you're recording my screen, I assume?
Yeah, so I can see your screen and you're adding the button.
Exactly. So I'm just going to add a button. Let's call this Artery, because that was our company. We built this. And then I'm going to create the link here. Right, so that's the website that I want to embed. So I'm going to say visit Artery. And then embed this inside of Bramble. Yep. And so now we have this little button called Artery, which I could put, wherever. I mean, obviously I can add images into this world. I can do all kinds of stuff.
Oh, and it's just interactive, and then so I'm assuming only the moderator or like the space
organizer.
Nice organizer could edit that. It's pretty
exactly.
Cool. Let me go see.
Oh, sorry about this. So I've just turned on our spotlights manually because I'm the organizer, so I can do that.
Oh,
so let me just turn off the customization mode. I'm going to click on Artery. So now it says, visit the website. And now, I think I put the URL in wrong. 1 second. That's on me.
No problem.
So I'm just going to edit that. Yep. Oh, shoot. Okay. And so let's just do /blog. Actually, even better, just like that. Okay. So I'm going to click on that, visit Artery. And now you can see, it's just taking a minute
Yeah,
to
and then
load
it's like
here.
right
My Wi-Fi
there,
is
so
a
you
little
don't even
bit
have
slow.
to leave.
But you can, exactly. So you can embed all kinds of websites and games, productivity tools. You can put your Figma here, your Miro, your Google Slides, your Office documents, literally anything you can think of, you can embed right inside of Bramble. And so you can make these visual worlds. And as a company, Bramble, we give you all of those customization tools to yourselves. But also we have creative services. So if you want us to help you customize this, we have an amazing team of artists and game developers and level builders that can kind of go in whatever direction you want to go to. We've done everything from like the moon to underwater to like very buttoned up sort of banking situations that were very much in the other direction from whimsy. Basically whatever the client's purpose is for the event, it's customizable. And I guess I should just say, like, the central metaphor here for us is it's just like a venue. How would you dress it? You want to tell your story. So you have a company story, you have values you want to express. All of that you do by like thoughtfully decorating the space. And that's what Bramble allows you to do.
Nice.
So we give you really beautiful worlds out of the box, but then you can take them in any direction you want.
So yes, like all of this where it's like the lanterns and the lights, everything, I could say, hey, I have a design of a map, I just give it to you all, or you guys, have some pre-made ones. That's pretty cool. And so now I'd love to talk about, some of the, accessibility and pricing. Like, you mentioned Artery, you guys give this to us. Like, is it a freemium platform? How much does it cost to use?
Do you mind, before we go there, can I just show you some other examples? Just so, if you're still seeing my screen, I can show you, because I think it might be easier to show this just from the slide deck. Is that all right? I mean, or I can go into the pricing. It's up to you.
Yeah, we could definitely do that, and then I'll just chop it again back together and move to the slide deck.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Like that. This is why we pre-record.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I wasn't sure if we were going to do so much of it in the demo. That's kind of why I had this, because it's like too much to show at once,
Mm-hmm.
So let me kind of jump in this.
All right, Vladic, can you tell us now a little bit deeper dive into Bramble? You're saying the more human ways to gather online. So some other examples you were mentioning that you have for the platform?
Yep. Well, I'm glad we got to see it in action, but let me show you some other examples just because we can't run around that many worlds, in a short broadcast. This is what I was saying about Artery. This is what Artery's end result was little gatherings like this. And so we built it, and then gatherings are not meetings. That's like the heart of what we believe, right? This online gathering stuff was all built for business meetings, and there's so many other ways to socialize. And these social activities should feel different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we built. What we just saw, that demo of this spatial chat, this fluid video technology, which is sort of patent pending, and that was the big work of it. Here, I can show this very quickly, this little demo. This is Salima, my co-founder. And you see as she gets closer to these other people, their videos appear and disappear. And now she's walking away. Now she's walking closer to John, who's playing some music. His video pops up. Then she leaves. She goes to a different room. This is our office, actually, our virtual office. And here we embedded some video games. And you can embed any website you want into any object. So this is a private space where a few people are having a meeting that other people can't hear. This is our conference room where we've embedded some Google Slides. So you're going to see those pop up. Yep. And then we're almost done. This is a virtual conference space where all of these representatives are talking about their companies and embedding activations there. So this is House of Yes, a great partner venue. They've got, how was the event? Like, do you want to make a donation? This is Doctors Without Borders. These are all real customers from Bramble. And here, you learn more about their campaign, make a donation right without leaving the experience while still talking to the person. So it's on your computer, but it doesn't feel like other virtual, platforms. And then as we keep going, just to show you, here's some really great examples. So these are all customized worlds, like completely different stuff that people have made. And we give you beautiful themes and worlds right out of the box, like right with your membership. But we can also fully customize it. So we do creative services that, sky's the limit. That's really about how ambitious you want to be. This is HarperCollins, I believe. This is Rise. This was a market, like a sort of vendors market for Pride Month. Kickstarter is a customer. Vice has used us to premiere shows for Vice News. HarperCollins has used us. And so, brands tell their stories with these custom worlds just as much as people gather in them. We have all these different themes that every user gets, right? Everybody who joins Bramble gets the Scandinavian lodge vibe. We have this bohemian world, forests, this like psychedelic trippy world, and then a more straightforward headquarters kind of vibe. And so we really believe that the future of events is going to be hybrid, right? You're going to have employees who want to gather in real life. They're going to want to see each other. We totally get it. But you're also going to have all these people who you've hired where you realized during the pandemic that some of your staff isn't going to come in every day, right? And how do you keep them connected? How do you make fun, whimsical, and like culture, like actual real culture online? And that's what Bramble's built for. Okay, so I won't read all these quotes, I promise, but these are some of the different things folks have used us for. Virtual headquarters. We have a lot of companies that, regularly gather in Bramble every day. They've just made a headquarters for themselves.
Nice.
We've got virtual events every day. Different companies are doing whatever it is, anything from employee training to something like a product launch. This is from the Music Managers Forum. So they had a big convention and decided to have an after party here. Virtual performances all the time. House of Yes was our very first ever public Bramble event. Virtual conferences, constantly doing them. Folk Alliance is the 4th biggest music conference in North America. They had thousands of people come into their Bramble space. So that was really exciting. This is some press we've gotten. I just like I like the New York Times one a lot. I walked through the lobby of a comedy club and started to make small talk with a neon jellyfish. How often you hear that about most virtual events. But other places have said some very nice things. I think Zoom and Animal Crossing, if you know what those things are, then you get it. Gizmodo was very kind to us for education stuff. Bramble is a video conferencing platform I wish existed at the start of the pandemic. So anyway, there's a lot more to be said there, but that's a quick overview.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this with us, Vladic. And it's really important to see how platforms have evolved. And one of the quotes that you just mentioned, just feeling like you got an experience. The person that said they walked into a comedy club, we're talking to a neon jellyfish, like it's memorable because now you're gonna go back and talk about it to different people. Being able to make your virtual office, and it's functional and it feels like something that we've already been used to as like humans, how we interact, how we socialize, how we network and build together. And so I'd love to.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think what I'm most proud of here is how seamless it is. Like this whole spatial chat thing, you don't even think about it because it makes sense. Yeah, you walk over to someone to see them. That's how you talk to them and so on. And that makes it possible, right? Without that, virtual spaces don't exist. So that was the tech we had to build. And then the main values were, if you're going to give people freedom to explore a space, you actually have to let them do that. And that's what took all the time to build out and make it stable,
Yeah, and you also mentioned like people being able to continue to build their culture. And from when you mentioned, Artery, the first organization that now has built out Bramble, it's culture is what's at the core of that. So I definitely love that. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about how do you see Brambles fit inside of the marketplace? We are on Virtual Events Reimagined alone, we are interviewing dozens of people that have platforms. So we want to ask the question of who should be using Bramble? That's the first part of the question. And then secondly, what does that structure look like? Is it like a subscription model? Is it a per space? Like, talk to us a little bit about that. So who should be using it and what does it take to get on to Bramble?
Absolutely. We think of ourselves as a very unique technology. And so we think of ourselves as being a complementary solution. Like we are the social part of your event. Now, your event isn't just socializing. It might be, in which case, great. I'll explain the pricing in just a second. But most of the time, you've got a keynote speaker for 20,000 people and then an after party where you have a networking session that takes place, during your employee recruitment event. Like whatever your event is, there's a social piece of it. And we really see ourselves, we've made ourselves super easy. Like it works in the browser on any device. So you don't have to install anything. And so this idea of just, let's say you're, I don't know if you want me to give a specific example. Let's say you have a big event in Hopin, right? We see ourselves as competing with that at all. Hopin is a perfect solution to what it does, as are many other, similar products. We just do something completely different. And so at that moment, you say, okay, we're going to have this social hour where we're all going to hang out and meet one another. Here's the Bramble link. Come join us. And so we really think of ourselves as solving one problem. we solve the problem of how do you gather people, how do you socialize, right? Not how do you do a giant broadcast, not how do you do well, basically the things that a lot of these platforms are made for, like webinars and business meetings. If you need to have 3 people do a business meeting, just pull up a Zoom or a Google Meet or whatever. And it's perfect. I mean, they're great technologies, but we do something completely different. We really shine when you start having a group of people that need to have fun together.
Yeah, I love that, gatherings.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, gatherings is exactly right. And in terms of pricing, we've tried to, a lot of use cases for this. Everything from birthday parties to enterprise level customers. We have the full range. So we figured out a pricing model that works for us to cover that. It's free for up to 10 people. So you can go right now, use Bramble. You'll get most of the features. And then for some of the deeper security stuff, some of the extra functionality, and more capacity, you get a membership. And that's a monthly membership. You can cancel anytime, and that's $99. So for $100 a month, a normal team, like your generic startup team, under 25 people, can use Bramble every month and can customize and can get all the security features and all the extra bells and whistles. If you're doing a large event, you just buy extra capacity. So you say, look, we no subscription there. You're just saying we need 300 seats, and then it's $5 a person for the extra. Now, if you don't want to do any subscription, if you're just like, we do not believe in subscriptions, and I know people like that, I totally get it. You can do any event you want. It's just $10 per seat after the first 10 free, like your free trial. Not free trial, just your free space.
Yeah, free space. Nice. And so, with that fluctuation in prices and offerings, and like you said, you could have the different add-ons that allows like the flexibility for the 15-20 person birthday party or the 1,500 person corporate after party. So I love that range.
One of the most common things that happens is we'll meet somebody at a company, we'll show them Bramble, and they're immediately thinking, oh, we could use this for recruitment, but we could also use this for product launch. Oh, we can use it for all these different things. And different teams within the company start to use it as well. And so when that happens, that's why we made the pricing this way. We're like, you don't have to decide now. Get the $100 a month. We think that's a reasonable amount. And start using it. Let your team get used to it. And then as you need more capacity, it's very easy to just upgrade. And then you can also downgrade, when you're done with it.
Nice. I love that. You could upgrade and then downgrade back to what you need to downgrade
Absolutely.
to. So thank you so much. And so that brings me, we've gone through a demo. You talked a little bit about the foundations of Bramble. So now that brings me to my final questions, 2 questions. What is your biggest learning from building this platform, right? A lot has happened over the last 18 months, but what would you say is the biggest learning? And it could be related directly to the platform or just pandemic or just life that you've had from building this platform.
My biggest learning. I'm just thinking about that. Well, I think, biggest learning about life from the pandemic is a very big question. I can definitely speak to my biggest learning for building a platform.
Yes,
especially for the event space. So my biggest learning for the event space has been that, if you're building a platform, you have to really make sure that your solution is unique. And you probably have that. That's why you're building it. So put whatever is unique about your platform front and center. Right. So for us with Bramble, it was so important for us that the minute you click that link, you understand why Bramble is like no other product. Right. So whatever inspired you to build what you're building, that there's something unique there, put it front and center. People have stuff to do. They're not very patient. There's a lot of things fighting for their attention. So you get that one moment and put it right there,
Put it front and center. Thank you. And any final pieces of advice that you would offer to folks that are in the event industry, trying to get in the event industry, building some technology that will support the event and gathering industry? Any advice?
Well, I mean, I've been learning a lot, but in terms of what I've been realizing, I think one thing I've learned is that there's really like this idea of virtual events being a single category. I think anybody in the event space understands that there's no like one size fits all. There's not even a single events industry, right? Like now, virtual events is everything from a happy hour to 5 million people, right? Watching an artist perform. And so I think understanding like the goals of your event or the event of your customers, like whatever your involvement is in the events industry, really understanding the goals. What kind of events are you talking about, So I guess my advice there is to define virtual events much more specifically.
Yeah, so being more niche and defined in what you're doing in the virtual event space. Love that. Thank you so much. So, guys, definitely read the description and check out below for information about how to check out Bramble. Again, the 10-person account is 100% free, and as you grow, Bramble grows with you to so you can get different accounts and do different sized events. Thank you so much, Vladic, for being here and a guest on Events Reimagined. And we definitely want to have people be testing out, using, and becoming culture and gathering, developing their culture and gathering more using Bramble. So thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you so much, Georgie-Ann. And if you guys are planning any sort of holiday party, make sure
you're ready to go.
See you on the internet.
See you on the internet. I love that. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
If you're ready to reimagine events, head on over to gsdsolutions.xyz. We look forward to seeing you at Events Reimagined.